Hi, my name is Amanda Masterson, and you're listening to my brand new podcast on life, navigation, and design. I'm on a mission to find personal truth, freedom, and peace, and this is your invitation to follow your heart and find the inspiration that will lead you to do the same. And so today I come to you spontaneously, as always in my podcasts, with this feeling of excitement and passion around the idea of finding your path and just noticing the interconnectedness of all things. It's about being in those moments where you're really just going with the flow. Sometimes it feels like things are happening for nothing, or things are taking too long, or we don't see where things are going. But today I want to emphasize the importance of being weird. Sometimes we feel so pushed to fall into this category of order and avoiding chaos at all costs. It's just not the way that things work. That's not how it works. We can't control life. Some of my favorite moments in life have really been the moments where I've really just been in the present and reacting to what is thrown at me from a place of curiosity, from a place of openness. When I'm out there in the world, in the physical, concrete world, going with the flow of life, noticing how each tiny moment connects. Let me tell you the story of one time when I was hitchhiking, and I really felt that. Most times when I was hitchhiking, I felt that, and that's why I really liked hitchhiking for a while. It wasn't about, I had money. I could have taken the bus, I could have taken the train, I could have found another way to travel, but I loved hitchhiking because it allowed me to be in that present moment, and it allowed me to notice how those 5 minutes that it took me to go find a bathroom and come back to the road changed the course of how things could have gone down originally if I hadn't gone to the bathroom. If I hadn't, stopped to talk to that one person, if I hadn't stopped to look at something, it could have meant that I wouldn't have been standing at the side of that road at that exact moment that, this red car comes by and actually stops to pick me up. And it turns out that, in this situation, it was a pilot. And I remember we had a really deep conversation. It's weird because right now I can't even remember what the conversation was about, but I just remember this person's energy, and I remember just being in the car together, and I remember thinking, what are the odds that we are here together in this car right now having this conversation? And what would have happened if I wouldn't have stopped to go to the bathroom to make sure that I would be here right now? And I remember that moment being so beautiful, and I felt so connected, and I felt so present, and I really noticed how everything was connected and how everything weaves itself together and how there are no coincidences and no accidents and how we are where we are and we're always where we're meant to be. And maybe it's just more obvious in those moments that, that you're hitchhiking or doing something a little bit out of the ordinary. But even in moments that do feel ordinary or feel maybe boring, there's still something at play, and there's still something that will lead to something else. Since everything is connected, exciting things, fun things can't be happening all the time. We have to wait sometimes for something to happen, something to be revealed, something to be learned. Sometimes we have to wait for someone else to do something. Everything is connected. Personally, what comes with that for me is impatience, because I can often see the big picture, I can see a destination, and I want to get there immediately. And I don't want to take the time to go step by step through what needs to happen to get there. But in the meantime, I have to learn to be patient and to actually take the steps that are required to get there, because everything happens step by step. And so what is the purpose in me sharing this story today? Story, is it really a story? I'm not sure. Really, it feels like I'm just rambling, and maybe I am, and maybe that's what I need to do. I don't know. But I'm still For those of you who have maybe listened to the experiments, messages from a bilingual heart, experiments in letting the heart flow, letting the heart speak, this is a new podcast because I am moving out of that experimental phase in a sense, and I am kind of shifting directions. Like, this is not an experiment in opening my voice anymore. I've started doing that, and I'm getting somewhere with it, even though there's still work to be done, which is why I'm still continuing to do a podcast. But I know that this needs to go somewhere else somehow. And so I got the message that Messages from a Bilingual Heart was done, and that it's time for something else. And so here we are, following this flow, following this feeling, without really knowing why, without needing to know why, without having to have a reason, but just really letting things flow from the heart, being spontaneous, being weird. Yes, coming back to how important it is to being weird. I'm a person who really enjoys when things are well organized, planned out. I've said this before in my previous podcast, but I also really appreciate the weird. I appreciate the silly. I appreciate when things are out of the ordinary. I appreciate when we're just in the moment, right? And so to fit in, to be understood, we often feel like we have to conform. There are so many things that we feel like we need to do, or we think that we need to do to be successful, to accomplish something particular because somebody else did it that way, or because somebody else told us that to get something done we need to do it a certain way, or because it's just this preconception that we have in our minds that that's how something needs to be done for it to be accomplished. You always hear these kinds of things about, oh, a successful person does this, this, and this. And I don't think that that applies to everyone. Sure, maybe one thing works for one person or another thing works for another person, but at the end of the day, we have to follow our own intuition, follow our own hearts, and let our own flow of creation come through us in the way that it needs to. And there's no right or wrong way. There is no perfect way to be. There is no perfect way to get there. Life is chaos and we cannot control it. That's not the way it works. And so yes, there are steps that we can take. There are things that we can do to try to make things a little easier on ourselves, easier on those around us, to set things up so that we can thrive as much as possible. But at the end of the day, as much as you want to try to control things, as much as you want to try to make things perfect or the way that you think that they should be, life will always throw you a curveball, and something will always kind of knock you off those rails for a little while. And that's just how things go. And that's your time, that's your cue to remember that it's okay, and that being weird is actually good. You can do things in a weird way. You can do things in a way that's outside of the box. You can just try to be yourself and just try to have fun and not worry about what you think you're supposed to do, and just do what feels right and what feels fun and what feels like a good time. Because at the end of the day, we are here to have a good time. And as long as it's not hurting anybody else, what you do with your life is up to you. We are creators. And that is like the most beautiful gift, is that we can create our own world. The things that we have in our mind, the stories that we create in our mind, the stories that we create in our own minds about our own lives and about what's going on around us, we create that. And so one person may look at you and think that you're romanticizing your life by telling your story in a way that is, I don't know, almost Hollywood. But who cares? If you want to tell your story, if you want to create your world in a way that uplifts you, that inspires you, that makes you feel good, change your story. You create your story. You can create your own story and stay in a story of victimhood. Oh, I lost my job. oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I'm not this or that. That's the story that you create, and that is the story that is going to be reality for you, and that's the story that's going to keep you trapped and a prisoner. And so that's why it's important to break those imprisoning stories, those stories that keep us trapped, the stories that limit us, the stories that hurt us, the stories that don't allow us to grow and to thrive and to enjoy life. They are just stories. Maybe somebody else created it for you, but you accepted it. At the end of the day, it's your story, and you can choose to accept it or not. You can choose to rewrite it. You can choose to change the story of your day, of your yesterday, of your tomorrow. It's your story. You're a creator. You can choose to alter your story at any moment. You have free will. Nothing is set in stone. Anything can happen, and you have no idea. You can't even imagine all the beautiful things that are going to happen to you. You just need to be open and curious and ready to create. And that is today's message on life navigation and design. Designing your own life, creating your own life, navigating through this life, this maze of a life that, sure, every day we don't understand necessarily what's going on. We have no idea where we're going, and that's okay. That's normal. That's weird. Accept it, live it, and just try to enjoy it as much as possible. On that, I say goodbye. I wish you a good day, and see you next time.